The shuttle landed with a soft thump on the frozen surface of Europa, pressed her face against the small window, and looked at the massive building in front of her. The United Galactic Academy rose from the ice like a mountain of metal and glass. She had seen pictures before, but nothing prepared her for how big it really was. She was 22 years old. She came from Titan, where her parents worked in the mining stations. Her whole life, she had breathed recycled air and eaten food made in machines. She had never seen a real tree or felt rain on her skin, but she had studied hard. She had passed all the tests, and when her name came up in the colony lottery, she packed her small bag and said goodbye to everything she knew. The other cadets on the shuttle were different from her. They wore expensive clothes. They talked about their families on Earth, about their houses near the ocean, about their parents who worked in government buildings. Kept quiet. She did not belong with these people. She knew it. They knew it too. A girl with perfect skin and shiny black hair sat across from her. Her name was. She came from one of the richest families in Korea. When tried to smile at her, looked away like she had not seen anything. The cadets walked off the shuttle and into the academy. A tall man in a uniform stood waiting for them. His face was hard and serious. He introduced himself as commander, and he told them to follow him. The academy was old. Not just old like 100 years, old like millions of years. Commander explained that humans found this place 200 years ago, buried under the ice of Europa. Someone had built it long before humans even existed. Someone called the founders. Nobody knew who the founders were. Nobody knew what happened to them. They left behind buildings and machines and technology that nobody could understand. The academy was built inside the founder facility because scientists wanted to study it. Then the military came. Then the politicians. Now it was the most important school in the galaxy, and cadets from 12 different species trained here together. Walked with the group through long hallways. The walls were smooth and strange lights glowed from the ceiling without any visible source. Everything felt alive somehow, like the building was watching them. They passed aliens from other worlds, had never seen so many different species in one place. Some had 4 arms, some had scales, some floated instead of walking. They all wore academy uniforms and they all moved with purpose. Commander stopped in front of a huge door. It was 3 times taller than a man and made of some dark metal that seemed to eat the light around it. "This is the Central Archive," he said. "The founders sealed it before they disappeared. In 200 years, nobody has opened it. Every species has tried. Every species has failed." He pointed at a small panel on the wall next to the door. It looked simple, just a flat surface with a faint glow. "The lock reads your body, your blood, your bones, your brain. It looks for something specific. We do not know what, but it has never found it in any of us." One by one, the cadets stepped forward and placed their hands on the panel. The light scanned them. Each time the same words appeared on a screen above the door. Access level, none. Species unrecognized. A cadet from the species tried. He had blue skin and 3 eyes. The lock rejected him. A female tried next. She had feathers instead of hair. The lock rejected her too. Then it was turn. She walked forward with confidence like she expected something different to happen. The lock scanned her hand. Access level, none. Species unrecognized. Step back, her face showing nothing. More cadets tried. More cadets failed. The line moved forward until only remained. She felt nervous. Her heart was beating fast. She did not know why. It was just a demonstration. The lock would reject her like everyone else. She was nobody special. She was just a girl from a mining colony who got lucky in a lottery. She stepped forward and placed her hand on the panel. The light touched her skin. It felt warm, almost alive. For a moment, nothing happened. Then every light in the hallway turned on at once. Tried to pull her hand back, but she could not move. The panel held her there. Strange symbols appeared on every wall, glowing bright blue. Screens that had been dark for millions of years suddenly came alive with images and words in languages nobody could read. The ground shook. Commander shouted something but could not hear him. There was a sound in her head like a voice speaking from very far away. Then the screen above the door changed. The words were clear. They were in perfect English. Access level creator, welcome home. The massive door began to open. Ancient air rushed out, cold and dry and smelling like nothing had ever smelled before. Behind the door was darkness, deep and complete. But somewhere inside that darkness, lights were turning on, one after another, reaching back into distances too far to see. Finally pulled her hand free. She turned around and saw everyone staring at her. Commander, all the cadets, human and alien alike. Their faces showed the same thing. Fear. What did you do? Someone whispered. Looked at her own hand. It looked normal. She felt normal. She was still the same girl who grew up on Titan, who ate machine food, who had never seen rain. But the door was open. The door that had been closed for millions of years was open because she touched it. I do not know, she said. Her voice was shaking. I do not know what I did. The darkness behind the door seemed to breathe. And somewhere deep inside the archive, something ancient was waking up. Within minutes, soldiers surrounded. They pointed weapons at her like she was an enemy. She raised her hands and tried to explain, but nobody listened. Everyone was shouting. Alarms screamed through the hallways. Red lights flashed everywhere. The ambassador arrived first. He was tall with dark blue skin and eyes that burned with anger. He demanded that be put in chains. He said she was dangerous. He said humans had been hiding secrets from the galaxy. Then the delegate came. She wanted samples of blood. She wanted to cut pieces from her body and study them in laboratories. She spoke about like she was not a person but a thing to be taken apart. Commander stood between and the aliens. He told them to step back. He told them that was a human citizen under Academy protection. But even he kept looking at her with strange eyes, like he did not know what she was anymore. Admiral arrived and took control. He was an old man with hair and a face like stone. He ordered everyone to be quiet. He ordered the soldiers to lower their weapons. Then he looked at for a long moment without saying anything. Come with me, he finally said. They took her to a special wing of the Academy. For 3 days, doctors ran tests on her body. They took her blood. They scanned her brain. They looked at every part of her, inside and outside. They asked about her parents, her grandparents, her great-grandparents. They traced her family history back 40 generations. The results made no sense to anyone. Was completely human. There was nothing special about her blood or her bones or her organs. Her parents were miners. Her grandparents were farmers from a small province in Korea before the great emigration to space. Her family had never been important. They had never been rich. They had never been anything except ordinary people trying to survive. But on the 4th day, they brought her back to the archive door. When she touched the panel, the door opened again. When she walked inside, lights turned on to guide her path. When she touched machines that had been dead for millions of years, they came alive under her fingers. And when she spoke, something answered. Query recognized, said a voice from everywhere and nowhere. How may I assist you, architect? The scientists went crazy with excitement. The politicians went crazy with fear. Messages flew across the galaxy at the speed of light. Every government, every species, every power in known space learned what happened on Europa. A human girl had opened the Founder's door. A human girl could control Founder technology. A human girl might be connected to the beings who built the galaxy's greatest mysteries. Some people said humans must be the children of the Founders. Some said humans were created by the Founders as servants or weapons. Some said humans were the Founders themselves, somehow fallen and forgotten over millions of years. The Empire called for humans to be watched and controlled. The Federation demanded that all founder sites be closed to human access. A group called the Purification Accord began spreading messages across the galaxy. They said humans were a threat to all other life. They said humans grew too fast, spread too far, took too much. Now this did not care about politics. She just wanted to understand. At night, when the guards were not watching closely, she would sneak into the archive and talk to the voice. She learned that it was an artificial mind, built by the founders to help their people. It had been sleeping for millions of years, waiting for someone to wake it up. She asked the voice why the door opened for her. She asked what made her different from everyone else. The answer changed everything she thought she knew. Creator access is not genetic, the voice explained. The founders did not build locks that read blood or bone. They built locks that read the pattern of thought, the shape of consciousness, the architecture of the mind. Did not understand at first, the voice explained more. Millions of years ago, the founders traveled across the galaxy. They found young species on many worlds. They did not conquer these species or rule them. Instead, they planted seeds. Not physical seeds, but patterns, templates for how minds could grow and develop over time. Most species never developed minds that matched the template, but some did. And when they did, the founders' technology would recognize them as inheritors. Humanity developed the pattern naturally, the voice said, through evolution, through chance, through millions of years of growing and changing. Your species was not created by the founders, but you grew into something the founders hoped would exist. Sat in the darkness of the archive, surrounded by machines older than the sun. She thought about her parents in their small room on Titan. She thought about her grandmother's stories about Korea, about mountains and rivers she had never seen. She thought about all the ordinary humans living ordinary lives across the galaxy. "Am I the only one?" she asked. The voice was quiet for a moment. "No," it finally said. "The pattern exists in many human minds, some strong, some weak. You are not unique, architect. You are simply the first to find a door." Closed her eyes. Somewhere out there, other humans had the same potential inside them. Other humans could wake up ancient machines and open sealed doors and speak to voices from millions of years ago. And when the galaxy learned this truth, nothing would ever be the same. Told Admiral everything the voice had revealed. She told him about the pattern in human minds. She told him that she was not the only one. She told him that any human might have the same ability sleeping inside them. The Admiral listened without moving. When she finished, he was quiet for a long time. Then he looked at her with tired eyes. "This information cannot leave this room," he said. Understood why. If the galaxy learned that any human could potentially control founder technology, every human would become a target. Parents would be killed. Children would be taken. The whole species would be hunted. But secrets do not stay secret forever. 2 weeks later, the information leaked. Nobody knew how. Maybe a scientist talked. Maybe a message was intercepted. It did not matter. The truth spread across the galaxy like fire. The Purification Accord made their move. They had been waiting for an excuse, and now they had won. They declared humans a contaminated species that threatened all other life. They said humans must be contained. They said humans must be controlled. They said humans must be stopped before they took over everything. The first attacks came without warning. A human colony on the edge of space was destroyed. Every man, woman, and child was killed. Then a human transport ship disappeared. Then another colony burned. Then another. War had begun, even though nobody called it war. Inside the academy felt like a prisoner. Guards followed her everywhere. Other cadets looked at her with fear or hatred or both. Even humans avoided her, like being near her was dangerous. Only stayed close. The same who had ignored her on the first day. The same who came from a rich family and wore expensive clothes. Something had changed in her. "I saw the news," said one night. They were sitting in their small room, the lights turned low. "I saw what they did to the colony. Children, they killed children." Did not know what to say. She felt guilty, even though she had done nothing wrong. The door had opened because of her. The secret had spread because of her. People were dying because of her. "It is not your fault," said, like she could read thoughts. "They hated us before you touched that door. They were just waiting for a reason." A few days later met. He was a quiet cadet who seemed to disappear into walls. Had seen him in classes but never spoken to him. He was thin and pale, with dark circles under his eyes like he never slept. He approached her in the archive when she was alone with the voice. "I know what you are," he said, "because I am the same." He told her his story. 5 years ago, his family was working on a dig site on Mars. They found a small founder artifact buried in the red sand. When touched it, it came alive in his hands. Lights appeared. Sounds came from it. Words in a language nobody understood. His parents were terrified. They buried the artifact again. They moved to a different colony. They never spoke about what happened. They made promise to never touch alien technology again. "But I always knew," said. "I always knew I was different, and when I heard about you, I knew I had to find you." Together, they began working with the voice to unlock more secrets. The archive was huge, bigger than any building had ever seen. It contained knowledge from millions of years of history, star maps, scientific formulas, records of civilizations that rose and fell before Earth even existed. And warnings. The founders did not just disappear, they were destroyed. Something killed them, something they called the recursion. "The recursion is not a species," the voice explained. "It is a pattern, a force. It exists in the spaces between galaxies where light cannot reach. It feeds on organized consciousness. When civilizations grow too large, too unified, too bright with thought, it notices them, and it consumes them." The founders tried to fight. They had weapons that could break planets. They had shields that could stop stars. Nothing worked. The recursion was not alive in any way they understood. It could not be killed because it was never truly alive. So the founders made a choice. They scattered. They destroyed their own civilization. They made themselves small and quiet and dark. They hid their knowledge behind locks that would only open for minds that evolved naturally, minds that might someday grow strong enough to do what the founders could not. Then they disappeared. Hopping the recursion would lose interest and move on. It worked. For millions of years it worked. But now had opened the archive. Founder systems were waking up across Europa. Energy signals were broadcasting into space. The galaxy was becoming bright again. And somewhere in the darkness between stars, something was beginning to notice. That night an assassin came for. He was tall and fast and trained to kill. He slipped past the guards like smoke. He moved through the hallways without making a sound. He found room and opened the door. Was waiting for him. She had noticed him earlier, watching with too much attention. She had followed him. She had seen him preparing his weapon. And when he came through the door, she hit him with a metal bar so hard he fell and did not get up. The guards came running. The assassin was taken away, stood over him, breathing hard, her hands shaking. "Nobody hurts my roommate," she said. Admiral made a decision that night. Would not hide anymore. She would not run. She would train with the best soldiers in the academy. She would learn to use founder weapons, founder shields, founder ships. The galaxy wanted to hunt humanity. Fine. Humanity would stop being prey. 6 months changed everything about. She trained every day from morning until night. She learned to fight with weapons and without them. She learned to fly ships that moved faster than light. She learned to read the founder's language like it was her mother tongue. But most importantly, she learned to use her gift. With creator access, she did not just operate founder technology. She understood it. When she touched a machine, she could feel how it worked, like she had always known. When she looked at code written millions of years ago, it made sense to her the way music makes sense to a musician. Trained beside her, his abilities were different but equally strong. Where understood machines understood systems, he could see how everything connected. He could find weaknesses and strengths that nobody else noticed. Together, they unlocked sections of the facility that had been sealed since before the sun was born. They found wonders beyond imagination. Weapons that could collapse stars into nothing, shields that could wrap around entire solar systems, ships that traveled by folding space like paper, crossing galaxies in moments, medical technology that could heal any wound, cure any disease, extend life for centuries. The founders had been gods. They had controlled the universe itself. And they had still lost. Spent long hours in the historical archives, learning about the founders. The voice helped her understand. The founders were not one species. They were thousands. Over millions of years, different civilizations across the galaxy developed minds that matched the creator pattern. When they did, they found founder technology waiting for them. They joined the collective. They added their knowledge, their culture, their wisdom to the great project. The project was simple: seed the galaxy with more potential, find young species, plant the pattern, wait for them to grow, welcome them when they were ready. For tens of millions of years, it worked. The collective grew larger and brighter. They thought they were building something eternal. Then the recursion came. Nobody knew where it came from. Nobody knew what it really was. It existed in the dark spaces between galaxies, in dimensions that normal matter could not touch. It had no body, no mind, no desires that anyone could understand. But it was drawn to consciousness, to thought, to the light that intelligent minds created in the universe. The brighter the light, the stronger the attraction. The Founders Collective was the light the galaxy had ever seen, and the recursion noticed. It did not attack like an army. It did not invade like a disease. It simply arrived, and where it touched, minds stopped working. Thoughts became confused. Memories disappeared. Entire species forgot who they were, what they were doing, why they existed. They fell into silence and darkness and never woke up. The Founders threw everything they had against it. Their greatest weapons, their most powerful shields, their most brilliant minds. Nothing worked. The recursion was not alive, so it could not be killed. It was not matter, so it could not be destroyed. It was just a pattern, a shape in the fabric of reality that consumed consciousness like fire consumes wood. In the end, the Founders made the hardest choice possible. They destroyed their own civilization. They scattered across the universe. They hid their technology. They made themselves small and dark and quiet. And they waited. They hoped that someday, somewhere, new minds would evolve. New inheritors would rise. Maybe those inheritors would find a way to do what the Founders could not. Maybe they would find a way to fight the darkness. Put down the records. Her hands were trembling. "The recursion," she said to the voice, "is it still out there?" The voice was quiet for a long moment. "Unknown," it finally said. The Founders lost contact with all monitoring systems when they scattered, but patterns like the recursion do not die. They do not disappear. They simply move on to other prey, other lights in the darkness. And if we make the galaxy bright again, if we wake up all this technology, if we become like the Founders, then the recursion will notice. It will return. It will do what it did before. Shared what she learned with Admiral, with. They sat in a small room and talked about the end of everything. "We have to stop," said. "Turn off the machines, close the doors, go dark again." "The purification accord will not stop," argued. "They are already killing our people. If we go dark, we die anyway." Admiral rubbed his tired eyes. "And even if we hide, the damage may already be done. The signals have been broadcasting for months. If the recursion is listening, it already knows we are here." Looked out the window at the frozen surface of Europa. Somewhere up there, in the black space between stars, something ancient and terrible might be waking up, something that had killed the greatest civilization in history. And humanity, young and small and fragile, was standing in its path. The founders ran, said quietly. They hid, and it only delayed the end. When the recursion finished with everything else, it would have come back for them anyway. "What are you saying?" asked. Turned to face them. There was something new in her eyes, something hard and bright and dangerous. "I am saying that maybe running was the wrong choice. Maybe hiding was the wrong choice. Maybe the founders should have fought harder. Maybe they should have found another way." "What other way?" asked. Did not have an answer yet, but she would find one. She had to, because humanity would not scatter like the founders did. Humanity would not hide in the darkness and hope to be forgotten. Humanity would fight. The attack came on a cold morning, when Europa's sky was dark with distant stars. The Purification Accord had gathered their full strength. 200 warships from 5 different species dropped out of faster-than-light travel and surrounded the moon. Their message was simple: surrender the human girl, destroy the founder technology, or be destroyed. Admiral refused. Captain led the defense. She was young for her rank, with sharp eyes and a mind that never stopped calculating. She had only 30 ships, but she knew the space around Europa like she knew her own heartbeat. The battle began with fire and light. Accord ships launched missiles that could crack mountains. Fleet danced between them, using Europa's gravity and the debris from ancient founder satellites to hide and strike and hide again. Inside the facility stood at the heart of the archive. The voice spoke in her mind, showing her systems she had never accessed before. Weapons that the founders built for the war against the recursion. Weapons that had never been enough. "You can use them," the voice said. "They will answer to you. They will destroy the enemy fleet in moments." His hand hovered over the control panel. She could feel the power waiting beneath her fingers. Enough power to vaporize every Accord ship. Enough power to protect her people. But then what? The Accord had 1,000 more ships, 1,000,000 more soldiers. If she used the founders' weapons today, she would have to use them tomorrow and the day after and the day after that. The galaxy would see humanity as conquerors, as monsters, as the thing they always feared. And worse, every use of founder technology sent signals into space. Every pulse of power was another light in the darkness, another beacon calling the recursion home. "There has to be another way," said. Stood beside her, his face pale but determined. "The founders left a contingency plan, a device that can hide the entire galaxy from the recursion, make us look empty, dark, not worth consuming." "What does it require?" Hesitated. "A creator mind to power it. The process would burn out the consciousness completely. Whoever activates it would die, not just die, they would be erased, no trace left." Felt cold. She thought about her parents on Titan, still working in the mines, probably watching the news with fear in their hearts. She thought about who had become the sister she never had. She thought about all the humans in all the colonies, living their small lives, hopping for a future. "I will do it," she said. No stepped forward. "I will do it. You are more important. You understand the technology better. You can lead humanity to—" "Nobody is doing it," interrupted. She had been listening at the door. "Neither of you is dying today. We did not come this far to give up." Commander appeared behind her. His face was grim but proud. "The girl is right. The founders ran and hid. Look what it got them. Extinction delayed, not prevented. If we hide now, we just die later." The facility shook. Another attack hitting the shields. His voice came through the communication system, tight with stress. "I cannot hold them much longer. Whatever you are planning, do it now." Closed her eyes. She thought about everything the voice had taught her. The founders seeded the galaxy with potential. They planted the pattern in thousands of species, hoping that someone would evolve to match it. hoping that inheritors would rise. But they only expected one inheritor at a time, one species to find the technology, one civilization to join the collective. What if they were wrong? What if the answer was not one bright light but many? She opened her eyes. Voice, she said, the communication array, can it reach beyond the known galaxy? Yes, the founders built it to contact potential inheritors wherever they might exist. Show me every world where the creator pattern might have developed, every species, every possibility. The air filled with light. A map of the galaxy appeared and then expanded and kept expanding. Thousands of points glowed across the darkness. Worlds the galactic community knew, worlds they had never visited, worlds in distant corners of the universe where light from Earth had not yet arrived. Understood what she had to do. The founders failed because they tried to fight alone, she said. They built a collective, but it was still just them. One civilization against the recursion. When it came, they had nobody to call for help. She started activating the communication array. Not to hide, not to go dark, the opposite. What are you doing? Asked. Broadcasting. Everything. The history of the founders, the location of their caches, the truth about the recursion, the warning and the invitation. Stepped closer. You are telling every potential creator in the galaxy that we exist. I am telling them that they are not alone, that there are others like them, that we can face the darkness together. The signal went out. It traveled at speeds that should have been impossible, riding pathways the founders built into the fabric of space itself. It reached worlds where beings with strange shapes looked up at unexpected lights in their sky. It reached places where the creator pattern had been sleeping for millions of years, waiting for this moment. And signals started coming back. First 1, then 10, then hundreds, points of light activating across the map, responses in languages that had never been spoken to another species, greetings and questions and hope from civilizations that thought they were alone in the universe. The Accord fleet saw the signals too. They did not understand what was happening, but they knew it was big, too big to ignore, too big to fight. Outside, Captain watched in amazement as the Accord ships hesitated. Then slowly, one by one, they began to pull back. They were not retreating from 30 human ships. They were retreating from the unknown, from the dozens of new signatures appearing across the galaxy, from the realization that humanity was no longer alone. Inside the archive felt tears running down her face. She was not sure why she was crying. Everything was uncertain. The recursion was still out there. The galaxy was still dangerous. Tomorrow would bring new problems, new enemies, new fears. But tonight, humanity had taken its place among the stars, not as children of the founders, not as inheritors of a dead civilization, as builders of a new one. The voice spoke one last time, and for the first time it sounded almost emotional. The founders hoped for one inheritor. They received thousands. Perhaps this was the answer they could never see. Not one light in the darkness, but many, too many to consume, too bright to ignore. Placed her hand on the ancient console. She felt connected to something larger than herself, to the miners on Titan and the farmers of old Korea, to and all the humans across the galaxy, to the new voices answering from impossible distances. We are not prey, she said softly. We never were. The lights of the archive glowed around her, ancient and new, darkness and hope, all mixed together. And across the galaxy, for the first time in millions of years, the inheritors of the founders began to speak to each other. The future was uncertain. The recursion would come. The battles would be long and terrible. But humanity would not face them alone, and that made all the difference.